And away we go, episode 1379 of the Al Galdi podcast. It is Monday, August 3rd, 2026. This is 2026 MLB Trade Deadline Day. The deadline is on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. What more will the Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles be doing in terms of trades in the lead-up to this deadline? Each team already has made 2 trades in the lead-up to this deadline. Each team had a less than ideal weekend regarding games. The Nats over the weekend lost the final 3 games of a 4-game series at the Atlanta Braves, completing a 4-game sweep. And the Nats on Sunday evening announced having traded second baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to the New York Yankees. The O's over the weekend lost 2 out of 3 games against the Philadelphia Phillies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. And the O's late night on Friday night announced having traded starting pitcher Dean Kramer to the Minnesota Twins. In-depth breakdowns of the Nats and Orioles weekends later in the show. Hello and welcome to this Monday installment of the Al Galdi podcast, which follows Washington, D.C. area sports so that you don't have to. Now, this also is a podcast on which we talk Washington Commanders on every episode, no matter the time of year. Did you have a nice back-together weekend? This past weekend was the NFL's annual back-together weekend, the annual weekend during which the league celebrates a training camp starting up by having teams hold practices open to fans and host Fan Fest. So we on Saturday morning had the first practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp open to fans. The team on Sunday did not hold a full practice, but the team on Monday morning is holding the first padded practice of this training camp. But we have a lot to get to from Saturday. Next segment, conversation about receiver Treylon Burks already being back from foot soreness. Good news there. Tight end John Bates being out multiple weeks due to a hamstring strain. Bad news there. The latest on center Nick Allegretti as he recovers from a calf strain. The modern thinking governing how head coach Dan Quinn runs training camp. The mantra of BMF being adopted by Quinn for his team and more. The following segment, discussion of Quinn essentially admitting that his style of defense has become antiquated and praising the progressive style of defense being used by defensive coordinator Daronte Jones. I am surprised at how little attention these comments from Quinn during his pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning have gotten. We'll give them proper attention coming up. You can hit me up on X at Al Galdi. You can email me the Al Galdi podcast at yahoo.com. You can reach me via writing a review of the podcast on Apple Podcasts. You can write about whatever you want, and I'll read what you write if you give the podcast a 5-star rating. Email from Kendall Hayes in Tennessee on an executive decision that I made a few months ago. The decision to use Washington instead of Commanders as the word for primary reference to the NFL team of Washington, D.C. I get that so many of you hate the name Commanders. So many of you won't even say or write Commanders. You say or write the C word, which cracks me up. I do still say Commanders, but I now use Washington as the primary means of referring to our team. Writes Kendall, I'm among those fans who recoil every time hearing the C word, although I get that current-day coaches use the C word as that is the team paying those coaches' salaries. As a regular listener to your excellent podcast, I know the angst you have had about what our beloved football team should be called. In the 1960s, our Washington Senators were known as the Nats. That nickname was a recognition that at one time they were known as the Nationals before changing to the Senators. The Washington Redskins have unfortunately changed their name. I say you honor and recognize the history of our team by calling the team the Skins. We will all know who you're talking about, and I, for one, will appreciate you honoring the name we cherished. Thanks for all that you do for your listeners, even those who have moved to Tennessee. I talk often with my son, former Terp Eric Hayes, about things I hear on your podcast. Thank you very much for the email, Kendall, who, yes, is the father of former Maryland point guard Eric Hayes. Eric Hayes, a point guard for Maryland for the 2006-2007 through 2009-2010 seasons. Number 7 in Maryland men's basketball history in career regular season and postseason assists. 1 assist behind the great John Lucas. Hayes had 513 career assists. Lucas had 514 career assists. And Kendall Hayes was an outstanding high school basketball head coach. It was the head coach for the boys varsity team at Potomac High School in Dumfries, Virginia for 21 years. I believe that my decision to use Washington instead of Commanders as the word for primary reference for our NFL team was validated by the team itself, was validated by the team's new uniforms not having the word Commanders at all. Something that I noted when the team unveiled its new uniforms this past April 15th was that the word Commanders does not appear anywhere on any of the new uniforms. the word Commanders, the C word, as some of you say, nowhere to be seen on any of the new uniforms. I mean, think about that. The team itself is shying away from Commanders. The Commanders themselves are shying away from Commanders. Now, it is true that not every NFL team has its name on the team's uniforms, but some teams do, and Washington does not, and I do not think that that's by accident. And hey, if you are a Washington Commanders fan, check out bgobsession.com, an outstanding site for discussion about the team, especially as training camp is ongoing. BG Obsession, or BGO, has been going strong since 2009. BG Obsession offers great contests, game day chats, and camaraderie. No politics, just football. Both old school and new school fans are welcome. Visit and join BGO at bgobsession.com, and tell bgobsession.com that Al Galdi sent you. bgobsession.com, home to your burgundy and gold obsession. Well, we had 2026 Washington Commanders training camp on Saturday morning, had the first of 5 practices open to all fans. So those 5 practices are on August 1st, 7th, 8th, 18th, and 19th. There also are 6 practices open exclusively to season ticket members, August 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 11th, and 12th. The crowd at practice on Saturday morning was really good. Now, the team does not put out official attendance numbers for open practices, but every indication is that this practice drew well. In fact, fans broke through a fence or fence-like setup while quarterback Jaden Daniels was interacting with fans. He ended up jogging away while laughing. Also, team president Mark Klaus, he prior to the start of the practice announced the Washington Commanders broadcast crew for telecast of the team's 3 games in the 2026 preseason. And that preseason broadcast crew includes the greatest running back in franchise history, Pro Football Hall of Famer John Riggins. So another sign of Riggo being back in business with the team. It was on July 9th that Washington announced that it will retire the number 44 John Riggins at the team's game against the Los Angeles Rams at Northwest Stadium this November 8th. The preseason broadcast crew for telecasts of Washington's 3 games in the 2026 preseason. Play-by-play announcer Dan Hellie, analysts John Riggins and Brian Mitchell, sideline reporter Brian Colbert Jr. Each game will air on WUSA 9. As for what happened during the practice on Saturday morning, so I'm not big on play-by-play of Washington practices. I think that you can go really wrong in getting caught up in specific practice plays, which can be very misleading, but this was the best practice for the offense so far in this training camp. This was the 3rd full practice for the team in this training camp. The defense very much got the better of the offense in each of the first 2 practices. The offense was much better on Saturday morning, and among those who practiced on Saturday morning was receiver Treylon Burks. Good to see that. Head coach Dan Quinn, during his pre-practice press conference this past Thursday morning, revealed that Burks was dealing with foot soreness. This was especially troubling because Burks has a lengthy injury history, but he on Saturday morning already was back to practicing. However, we on Saturday morning did get some bad injury news. Dan Quinn, during his pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning, revealed that tight end John Bates will be out for multiple weeks due to a hamstring strain that he suffered during Thursday morning's practice. This was Quinn during the opening statement of his pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning.
John Bates strained his hamstring in Thursday practice, so that'll knock him out for a couple of weeks.
There you go. John Bates, per Dan Quinn, quote, out for a couple weeks, end quote. That was all that Quinn said about the John Bates situation. But Bates being injured, of course, not good. He's Washington's number 2 overall tight end and number 1 blocking tight end. It was in July 2025 that Washington Commanders analyst and former Washington Redskins tight end Logan Paulson on episode 1109 of this podcast talked about how John Bates is an elite blocking tight end, as in not just the best blocking tight end on Washington, but one of the best blocking tight ends in the NFL. And Logan would know. A, he played tight end in the NFL. B, he watches a ton of all 22 footage. I say what I'm about to say not to be reactionary or dramatic, but to tell it like it is. The injury news for Washington so far regarding this training camp, off the team, of course, getting hammered by terrible injury luck last regular season, has not been especially encouraging. The team has 4 players on the active/physically unable to perform list. Edge defenders Dorrance Armstrong and Dietrich Wise Jr., cornerback Trey Amos, and linebacker Kane Medrano. The team has 1 player on the active/non-football injury list, punter Tressway. And the team now has 2 offensive players out with injury, but still on the active roster. Center Nick Allegretti, calf strain, and now tight end John Bates, hamstring strain. Treylon Burks being back so quickly was good. I don't want to lose sight of that, but the list of injured players already is long. As for Nick Allegretti, we on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
First on the injury stuff, Nick Allegretti.
Yes, Nick won't be out today. He'll same thing. He's in the next week or so in that space.
So Dan Quinn on a timeline for Nick Allegretti, quote, next week or so in that space, end quote, as yes, we got an in that space from Dan Quinn. He loves that phrase. Washington took Michigan State center/guard Matt Golban in the 6th round of the 2026 NFL draft, so he's an option at center. Washington also has Julian Good-Jones as an option at center, and he has been practicing as the first-string center with Allegretti out. But Nick Allegretti is the clear favorite to be Washington's number 1 center off the team this past March 3rd, announcing having released Tyler Biadasz, who was Washington's number 1 center for the last 2 seasons. I'm not panicking about the Allegretti injury, but he in theory is the new starting center as the team has a new offense via having a new offensive coordinator in David Blau. It's not ideal that Allegretti is missing time. Something that has come up is Washington potentially giving Brandon Coleman a true look at center. He in training camp is involved in a competition with Chris Paul for the starting left guard job. But Coleman, after practice on Saturday morning, was doing some work as a center. That was interesting. There also, of course, is the possibility of Washington acquiring a center via him being released by another NFL team or via free agency or via trade. And sure enough, Washington on Sunday afternoon announced having signed unrestricted free agent center Trey Hill. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Mitch Tischler of Monumental Sports Network and Dan Quinn.
With Nick being a little banged up, it kind of highlights the rest of the center position not having a ton of practical NFL experience.
Yep.
Is there any thoughts of working a veteran in to get a little work at center so you have a little bit of experience there?
Yeah, Adam and his crew definitely work through that. It's not something long that we're thinking with Nick. We like the group we have, but yes, that's something that not from a veteran-esque person, but we've also developed some other guys to see where they're at. It does give you a window to see where people are at. And so the same thing with John at tight end. Like, I know John's a warrior, he'll be back, but it does give some spaces for people in those windows. And all of you have covered a long time. Okay, more reps, somebody came alive, this happened. And so I like that, to see who is here and elevate them and see what that looks like. And oftentimes you're surprised to say, hey, okay, you put them in the fire, see where it goes, and let's see where we go from there.
So the deadline by which each NFL team must have its active roster at no more than 53 players, what is known as the cut down to 53, is not until Sunday, August 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern, but it is by that day that hundreds of players will be cut. So yeah, there will be veteran centers available for Washington, and as Dan Quinn said, Nick Allegretti is expected back relatively soon. But just for depth purposes, it would not be terrible if Washington added a veteran center. The first padded practice of 2026 Washington Commanders training camp is on Monday morning. We found that out during the Dan Quinn pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning. The padded practice is when an NFL training camp starts getting real. This is when you can learn a lot about offensive linemen, running backs, and defensive linemen especially. We on Saturday morning had this back and forth between columnist Barry Verluga of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Dan, logistically, this first pads Tuesday, and then go ahead.
Monday.
Okay. And then how much thought is given to the cadence of camp in terms of how many practices you have in a row, days off? Just looks like you're really separating the kind of stanzas.
Yes. And that's a little bit of the blocks too, Barry. And even on the next one in block 2, you'll see a padded day Monday, not Tuesday, again Wednesday. So all of that kind of part of the first 7 days or so of ramp-ups to go. And even on the padded days, some are longer, some are shorter. So I think what you'll see is camp sometimes there's going to be, hey, let's extend it out far, another day, bring it back down. So I'm not going to say the intensity of going, but like, let's work a lot of red zone so it's not long. Now let's work a lot of move the ball, in the whole field. And so it kind of just working it back and forth. But yeah, it took a lot of time through the spring and through the summer to like absolutely try to nail it.
It's all design.
Yes.
Yeah, Dan Quinn is very intentional with how he structures training camp. Most, if not all, NFL head coaches are. But for Washington, off at last regular season, getting walloped by injury, but also being a really bad team, there's a balance that the team with this training camp is trying to strike of keeping guys healthy, but also having a proper camp in terms of intensity and physicality. We on Saturday morning had this back and forth between Commanders insider Nikki Javala of The Athletic and Dan Quinn.
Going back to Barry's question, it does seem like a lot of teams across the league, their approach to training camp in general has changed, like not more than 3 days in a row for camp. And it's not simply because of changes in the CBA. What has sort of been your view of it, and how have you kind of approached all of it?
Yep. So there's definitely some parts of it that are CBA related and organized, but I think it's also good, like, we now have more information, to know, hey, this is when this amount of injuries occur at the beginning, so what can change? And so you saw like a lot of red zone work early to try and limit. Now, is it foolproof? No. Like, obviously we had John get a hamstring on day 2, so like it's not, like no matter what, this will work. But it's a good guidelines, to stay with that. And if we can keep doing that, we're going to, in the end, be stronger and better. And so it's that fine line. You want to walk, you want to be right close to the edge, but you don't want to go over it. And that's the same. We measure, what did each guy do on a certain day. And quite honestly, like, you do have to have some really hard days to build some resilience and like knowing like, how are you going to be ready to play 60 plays if you only play 15 at practice? So a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and then back down, then go higher again. So there's a lot of thought that goes to it. And I wish it was one size fits all, but it's not. It's just like some of them were learning players, as David was referring to earlier. Somebody is new or a rookie player in their first camp. So I think just having an open mindset each night, we discuss it. Who might need more, might need less, what needs tweaking, as opposed to, well, this is on the script, we should do what it says. So that's an important piece.
So a lot of it is sort of based on like league trends, media, or like medical research, just
definitely not media trends. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, but maybe one day. But it does, and I think that's important. Like, it's kind of how we grow the game, knowing that like this would be a safer approach for guys to have better health long term. So when a lot of us covered the team, it was 2 days to this and back to back, and now we don't do that, but there are some smarter ways to do that, and if we can continue to find that, that's ultimately the goal. Like, can we get not only work really hard, but the roster at the end of camp really healthy too?
Absolutely. Now, there is an emerging mantra for the 2026 Washington Commanders. Are you aware of the emerging mantra? The emerging mantra is BMF. I'm pretty sure that you can figure out what that means. BMF. And actually, it's appropriate that Dan Quinn is going with BMF as a mantra. One of the greatest pro wrestlers of all time, heck, maybe the greatest, is Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he, on his black vest that he wore on his way to the ring, had the letters BMF. And Dan Quinn, to me, looks like Stone Cold Steve Austin. Shaved head, goatee. So there you go. But BMF. The emerging mantra for the 2026 Washington Commanders. We on Saturday morning had this exchange with Stone Cold Dan Quinn.
I'm just been curious, since you've been here, the team has worn shirts with sayings on like brotherhood and doing hard stuff with good people, things like that. The latest generation has BMF on the back. Probably good guess of what that means, but what does it mean, and how does it apply to this year's?
I don't know what you're referring to.
This year's like motto or
understood.
attitude.
Yeah, for sure. I think you guys know me well enough. Having an identity for a team is important, and it's not on the back of a slogan or hung on a wall. It has to be something that's done every day. But standards and identity of what you want to be, it has to be established over time and consistently. And for us, we want our fans and our team and everybody watch us play say, man, these guys really bring it. And so that's what we want to establish, but it takes time for that to happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing this team. Each team, there's a new group, seeing this guys build it together. Like, I'm pumped to see their connection happening quickly already, and that's a good sign for a coach.
Yes, it is. And speaking of what Dan Quinn is seeing from his team in this training camp, we on Saturday morning had this exchange between John Keim and Dan Quinn.
You talked a lot about the energy and getting more in here. What little things have you seen maybe already in this camp that maybe you weren't seeing last year?
Without looking back too far, I would say I don't know if it's compared to last year, but I can tell you what I'm seeing now, John. I think like unbelievable connection of the communication back and forth, not just connection as like a friendship, you and I, but the work, the communication back and forth together. I saw it in the spring with like Amik and Mikey just after doing things. And so I'm seeing these pockets of connection and work taking place. And so that would be one example of what I'm seeing.
Long way to go in this training camp. I am not going to do the thing of telling you that this camp is so much better than last year's Washington training camp. Way too early to say that. But if the communication is better, that's great. And regarding the intensity being better, we should get a good test of that on Monday morning via the first padded practice of this camp. Great time of year as we are in the heart of summer. Whatever you're up to this summer, Quince has you covered with great clothing. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Quince focuses on well-made essentials that naturally become those everyday staples that you actually live in all season long, like the shorts that I got from Quince, sand dune colored cotton chino drawstring shorts. They look and feel great. They go with just about anything. They are the workhorse of the Galdi shorts rotation for the summer of 2026. Clothes from Quince are the summer upgrade that your rotation needs. Quince's 100% European linen pants and shirts are breathable and are easy to throw on, starting at just $34. Quince's tees are soft enough to live in all day, and the lightweight cotton sweaters are exactly what you want when summer nights cool down. And everything at Quince is priced 50 to 80% less than similar brands. Quince works directly with ethical factories and cuts out the middlemen, so you're paying for exceptional quality, not brand markup. Make your summer wardrobe easier. Go to quince.com/Galdi for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/Galdi. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/Galdi.
Hi, Ryan Reynolds here for Mint Mobile. Are you looking for a beach read this summer? May I suggest your big wireless bill? It's got suspense, mystery, a slightly flat, emotional arc, and a shocking twist where you realize you've been overpaying the entire time. Fortunately, though, Mint's story is better. Every plan, $15 a month. Even unlimited. That's it. Happy ending. Zero tears.
Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan required. $15 per month equivalent. Taxes and fees extra. Initial plan term only. Greater than 50 gigabytes may slow when network is busy. See terms.
More now from 2026 Washington Commanders training camp. The most interesting item from head coach Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning to me was him essentially saying that his defense has become antiquated and that the defense of the team's new defensive coordinator, Daronte Jones, is the way of the present and future in terms of defense in the NFL. Now, Quinn did not say this exactly as I just said this, but what he said to me meant what I just said. Quinn effectively admitted that his defense has become antiquated and that the defense of Daronte Jones is at the vanguard of defense in the current NFL. Take a listen. We, during Dan Quinn's pre-practice press conference on Saturday morning, had this back and forth between Commanders insider Ben Standig of Last Man Standing on Substack and Quinn.
Hey, Dan. You obviously, when it comes to coaching defenses, you've been there, done that with it all. But you've been in your system, you the way you look at the world the last several years. Now that you're within Daronte, what he's bringing to the table, does it change your perspective at all in terms of defense and coaching?
I wouldn't say it's changed perspective, but I like that he's on the front edge of some things. And so often at the line of scrimmage, offenses, can have the pen last to want to get to this check and get to this change. And defensively, so much we adjust. Okay, that happened, we adjust. This happened, we adjust. But I like in the system that we have now is we are also into some of the checking to make the offense have to adjust. So I think in the years ahead, defenses are trying to be in that space more, and it's nice to see us go into that space now. So there's still 40 seconds, that shot clock goes off, you're back at it again, the back and forth. There's a lot of pressure quarterback-wise, and then same thing on the communication on the defense. So it's a good system, Ben. And moving forward, I think we'll see more of it. Yeah.
Okay, so Dan Quinn on Daronte Jones, quote, "I like that he's on the front edge of some things," end quote. And then Quinn explained what he meant from an X's and O's standpoint. And then Quinn said of the defense, quote, "Moving forward, I think we'll see more of it," end quote. The idea being that this style of defense is going to spread around the NFL. And then regarding Quinn essentially saying that his defense, the Dan Quinn style of defense, has become antiquated. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider John Keim of ESPN and Dan Quinn.
Going back to Daronte, talking about the system, you had your system for a while. What led you to say, like, now it's time for you to maybe look into this?
I think just going through, offenses and defenses, over the last 5 years, 6 years, to say, when would you want to check? A lot of times the defense might have an all-out blitz and an offense checks, and you want to get out of that blitz because a screen or something could hurt you. And when could you take that further? And so defenses often try to disguise man and zone, and that's been popular for a while. So now having the ability to get in and out of calls, it has to be easy to learn. It's got to be relatable and something you can execute quickly. And having a system that you're able to do that, that's a big deal.
Was it hard to get to that point for you?
It wasn't. I enjoy learning the new parts of it, so it wasn't difficult to learn. In fact, I thought it would be more complex, and so the best systems don't overtax someone. Like, you've got to let their ability to go and play freely with discipline out. And if you're just hesitating, overthinking, I've tried that where it's like you want the perfect call, and like a good call, executed violently is going to work better. And so this allows us to get in and out of calls, not every play, but on a more regular basis.
All right, so Dan Quinn explaining how, over the last 5 or 6 seasons, his style of defense could get exposed via not being able to alter calls, and then saying, quote, "I enjoy learning the new parts of it," end quote, as in learning this Daronte Jones defense. And we now have even more reason to believe that Daronte Jones is going with a Brian Flores-style defense, as what we've seen from the defense during training camp has been in accordance with the Brian Flores-style defense. Daronte Jones spent 5 of the previous 6 seasons with the Minnesota Vikings, was the Vikings defensive backs coach for the 2020 and 2022 seasons, was the Vikings defensive passing game coordinator / defensive backs coach for the 2023 through 2025 seasons, the 2023 through 2025 seasons were the first 3 seasons for Brian Flores as Vikings defensive coordinator. I have 3 distinct reactions to Dan Quinn on Saturday morning, essentially admitting that his defense has become antiquated and that the defense of Daronte Jones is at the forefront of defense in the current NFL. A, it is exciting that Washington is going with a progressive defense that uses modern, forward-thinking concepts. B, good for Dan Quinn for having the humility, self-awareness, and intellect to, as a head coach who has excelled as a defensive coordinator, be willing to get away from the style of defense that he has known so well and embrace a new style of defense. C, what exactly is the point of having a head coach with a defensive background if his defenses over the first 2 seasons are so bad that he, during the training camp for his 3rd season, flat out says that his defense has become antiquated, that his defense doesn't work anymore, and so the team is going with an entirely new defense? I like Dan Quinn. I am rooting for Dan Quinn. But if you're going to have a head coach with a defensive background in this offensive-minded NFL, you should at least get some very good defenses out of having that person as your head coach. Or maybe I should say this, it should at least be the case that the head coach during his 3rd training camp as your head coach doesn't concede that his defense is no good anymore. I mean, that is not exactly optimal. You know, the team that just won the Super Bowl, the Seattle Seahawks, they have a head coach with a defensive background, Mike McDonald, right? Washington reportedly wanted him to be the team's head coach, but I digress. But Mike Macdonald's Seahawks defenses are considered in line with the current NFL and most significantly have been good. That's what should be the case when you have a head coach with a defensive background. What should not be the case is what Washington has. A head coach with a defensive background just 2 seasons into his tenure as head coach saying that his defense doesn't work anymore. I mean, you think about this, it really is something. And look, Dan Quinn hiring Daronte Jones was the first sign of Quinn recognizing that his defense doesn't work anymore. But hearing him say what he said on Saturday morning really stood out to me. But again, good for Dan Quinn for having the humility, self-awareness, and intellect to, as a head coach who has excelled as a defensive coordinator, and he has, be willing to get away from the style of defense that he has known so well and embrace a new style of defense. Meantime, how improved is Washington's defensive front? Hopefully a lot. Washington unrestricted free agent acquisitions in the 2026 offseason included interior defensive lineman Tim Settle and DJ Davidson, edge defenders Adafe Owe, Kaylavon Chason, and Charles Omenihu, and linebacker Leo Chanel. In Washington in the 2026 NFL Draft took Ohio State linebacker Sonny Styles with the number 7 overall pick and took University of Tennessee edge defender Joshua Josephs in the 5th round. Washington in free agency in the 2026 offseason did lose edge defender Jacob Martin, and linebacker Bobby Wagner does remain unsigned. We on Saturday morning had this exchange between Commanders insider Tashawn Reed of the Washington Post and Dan Quinn.
DQ, with this defensive front, you guys made a lot of additions in the offseason, of course, and pretty multiple up there. How does that sort of set the tone for your defense overall? I know obviously the back end has to do their thing too, but it tends to start in the trenches.
Yeah, it does.
So how does that change it for you guys so far?
Yeah, we definitely see it starting up front, and different days will emphasize different packages to go. So think of it as like 4-down structures. Sometimes it's 5, like a 3-4 structure. Otherwise, sometimes more people up on the line, and so depending on what the offense is doing, it might be heavier or bigger groups. So I like the versatility of going in and out. Each day you kind of get to work some. In other words, in like a 2-minute or a 3rd down, depending on the distance, might be more spread out and open compared to like a short yardage in that day. So I like that we have the flexibility to, match different personnel. That's a big deal.
All right. Hey, for all of you parents out there with teenagers, we know that you're already trying to keep a million different things under control. Well, Cash App is here to help make sure that your teen's money and spending aren't adding to that craziness. Cash App is great. With the Cash App card available to teens 13 to 17 with sponsorship by an eligible parent or guardian, every transaction triggers a real-time notification for you to see, empowering your teen to practice independence while giving you peace of mind by keeping track of your teen's spending. You could also manage everything directly from your own Cash App account without having to switch between the two, making it simple to stay connected to your teen's financial activity in a way that's both efficient and empowering. Also, no one wants unnecessary surprises. Well, with Cash App, there are no monthly fees, there are no minimum balance requirements, and there are no hidden charges when sending or receiving money. With the Cash App card, you and your teen's balances receive 24/7 fraud monitoring, and if the card ever gets lost, you have the ability to lock your teen's card right from your phone with just one tap. Parents, it's time to start focusing on your teen's financial learning and growth instead of stressing about the fine print. If you're ready to give your teen more independence while staying in the loop, start by downloading Cash App and sponsoring your teen's account today. Download Cash App today and sponsor your teen. Visit the link in the notes section for this episode. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partner or partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Cash App Visa Debit Flex cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC, and the Bancorp Bank N.A. pursuant to a license from Visa USA Inc. See terms and conditions for the Sutton Prepaid Card, Sutton Debit Flex Card, and Bancorp Debit Flex Card. Savings provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like. Fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's ODOO.com to learn more.
So we don't know to what extent recent results are impacting what Washington Nationals President of Baseball Operations Paul Taboni is thinking regarding the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline, which is on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. But we do know that the Nats in recent days have not exactly been making a compelling case for Taboni to be an aggressive buyer. The Nats now have lost 5 consecutive games and 6 of the team's last 7 games. The Nats over the weekend lost the final 3 games of a 4-game series at the Atlanta Braves, completing a 4-game sweep. Thursday night, a 5-4 loss at the Braves in a game in which the Nats blew a 3-0 fourth-inning lead. Friday night, a 6-2 loss at the Braves. Saturday night, an 8-3 loss at the Braves. Sunday afternoon, a 4-2 loss at the Braves. The Nats in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 55-58 with a run differential of plus 16, and now are 4.5 games behind the Arizona Diamondbacks and Philadelphia Phillies for the National League's second and third of 3 wildcard spots. So the Braves, they in this regular season now are a National League East best 67-45 with an NL East best run differential of plus 108. The Nats in this 4-game series at the Braves got totally outclassed by the Braves. More on the Nats over the weekend, losing the final 3 games of this 4-game series at the Braves for a 4-game sweep in a bit. But yeah, the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline is on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. The Nats in the 12 a.m. Eastern hour on Sunday, July 26th, announced having traded third baseman / first baseman / second baseman Curtis Mead to the Boston Red Sox for starting pitcher Connolly Early. And the Nats on Sunday evening announced having traded first baseman Luis Garcia Jr. to the New York Yankees for 4 pitchers, including 2 of the Yankees' top 25 prospects per MLB Pipeline, and starting pitching prospect Jack Siebert, who was the Yankees' number 14 overall prospect, and relief pitching prospect Ben Grable, who was the Yankees' number 25 overall prospect. The other 2 pitchers who the Nats got from the Yankees are relief pitching prospect Giovanni Cruz and relief pitcher Jake Bird. And the Nats on Sunday night announced having optioned Bird to AAA Rochester, announced having optioned relief pitcher Riley Cornelio to AAA Rochester, and announced having transferred relief pitcher PJ Poulin to the 60-day injured list. Garcia is in his age 26 season, is under team control through the 2027 season. Trading him if you don't want to extend him makes total sense, especially if you don't fully buy into the incredible season that he's having. And he is having an incredible season. Luis Garcia Jr. for this regular season is number 3 among all qualified players in MLB in slugging percentage, 560. I mean, let that sink in. Paul Taboni has sold high on Garcia, as Taboni did with Curtis Mead. Is Taboni now all in on being a seller regarding the trade deadline, as this trade of Garcia clearly was a sell-side trade, or might we still see the Nats buy some relief pitching help? That's going to be interesting to see. But I tell you what, starting pitcher Foster Griffin would appear to be as good as gone. If Taboni traded Garcia, you'd think that Taboni will be trading Griffin. You'd think that at this point it is a slam dunk that Taboni will be trading Griffin. And like I said, the Nats in recent days have not exactly made a compelling case for Taboni to be an aggressive buyer. And remember, this is season number 1 of a restarted rebuild for the Nats. They were never supposed to be as good as they've been. And we may be seeing the Nats come back down to earth. When it comes to the Nats over the weekend losing the final 3 games of this 4-game series at the Braves for a 4-game sweep. So the Nats offense has gone cold. The offense in this regular season, in being shockingly great, has avoided a prolonged slump. I would not call this current slump prolonged, but the offense lately has not been what we had come to expect. The Nats in this 4-game sweep at the Braves totaled just 11 runs. The Nats during their current 5-game losing streak have totaled just 13 runs. The 6-2 loss at the Braves on Friday night, the Nats scored just 2 runs despite totaling 9 hits and 4 walks. Why? Well, the Nats went 0 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The 9 hits were 2 home runs, a double, and 6 singles. C.J. Abrams, as the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 1 for 2 with a solo homer and 3 walks. Did commit a fielding error, but Abrams in the Nats' 1-run fourth had a leadoff homer to right field to cut the Nats deficit to 2-1. Andres Chaparro came off the bench to pinch hit and play first base. He went 1 for 2 with a solo homer. Chaparro in the Nats' 1-run ninth had a 2-out solo homer to left field to cut the Nats deficit to 6-2. The 8-3 loss at the Braves on Saturday night, the Nats scored just 3 runs, totaled just 4 hits, which were 2 doubles and 2 singles, worked 3 walks, went 2 for 6 with runners in scoring position. Now, the Braves scratched their scheduled starting pitcher for this game, former Nats prospect Reynaldo Lopez, due to left knee inflammation, and so the Braves starting pitcher was Martin Perez, and he tossed 7 scoreless innings with 6 strikeouts. In fact, the Nats got no hit for 6 2/3 innings. Brady House ended the no-hit bid with a 2-out opposite field single to right field in the top of the 7th. C.J. Abrams, he is the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter, went 1 for 4 with a 2-run single, did commit a fielding error in the Braves' 4-run 7th, but Abrams in the Nats' 3-run 8th had a 2-out 2-run single into center field to cut the Nats deficit to 8-3. Dylan Cruz, he is the Nats starting left fielder and number 3 batter, went 1 for 4 with an RBI double. Cruz in the Nats' 3-run 8th had a 2-out first pitch, opposite field RBI double to right center field off the warning track to cut the Nats deficit to 8-1. And the 4-2 loss at the Braves on Sunday afternoon, the Nats were bad offensively. Just 2 runs, just 4 hits, all of which were singles, just 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position, 11 strikeouts. The Nats did draw 5 walks, but the offense was not good. And Andres Chaparro had to leave the game. He is the Nats starting first baseman and number 9 batter, went 0 for 1 with a bases-loaded hit by pitch, which came via being hit on his batting helmet in the Nats' 2-run 4th. He eventually was taken out of the game and replaced by Brady House as the Nats' first baseman, marking the first time that House had played first base in a regular season game in his professional career. Now, Nats manager Blake Butera, during his post-game session with reporters on Sunday afternoon, did say that Chaparro had passed a concussion test, so that's good. But with C.J. Abrams, so he on Sunday afternoon as the Nats starting shortstop and number 4 batter went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts and a throwing error, which had to do with Brady House. Starting pitcher Cade Cavalli in the bottom of the 5th allowed an unearned run on a went-out opposite field double by Austin Riley to right field, and then a went-out throwing error by Abrams on a first-pitch grounder up the middle by Jim Jarvis for a 3-2 Braves lead. Now, Abrams threw high, but the throw could have been caught by Brady House, but still, this was Brady House's first career regular season game in the majors or minors playing first base. Like, help a brother out. And as you may have noticed as I've been talking here, C.J. Abrams committed a lot of errors over the weekend. Abrams committed an error in each of the final 3 games of this series. Now, errors are not the best judge of defense, but C.J. Abrams in this regular season, while he has been outstanding defensively, has been really bad defensively. And my take is that he should not be a shortstop. He should be a second baseman. The sample size now is large enough to where we can say with confidence that C.J. Abrams is a bad defensive shortstop. And, bad is being kind. He's terrible defensively at shortstop. If you go by StatCast's outs above average, which is a top defensive metric, Abrams, as of games through Saturday for the Nats in his MLB regular season career, had totaled minus 58 outs above average. Now think about that. Minus 58. That is atrocious. Included minus 14 for this regular season, again, as of games through Saturday. We don't know if the Nats will have C.J. Abrams for the long term. Of course, he's a trade candidate for this season's trade deadline and beyond, unless the Nats sign him to a contract extension. He's in his age 25 season and is under team control through the 2028 season, but he is not a major league shortstop, period. The Nats starting pitching over the final 3 games of the team getting swept in this 4-game series at the Braves was bad in games 2 and 3, but good in game 4. The 6-2 loss at the Braves on Friday night. Foster Griffin, in facing the Braves for the third time in this regular season, officially allowed 6 runs in 5 1/3 innings, marking him allowing more than 3 runs in an outing for the first time in 12 outings. Whether him struggling was due to him facing the Braves for a third time, or was due to all of the trade talk, or was due to just the Braves being very good, who knows? But Griffin in this game was not good. He gave up 9 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 6 singles, issued 2 walks, recorded 3 strikeouts, did throw a good number of strikes as he over 78 pitches threw 50 strikes versus just 28 balls. You take a step back. Foster Griffin in this regular season, 22 games, all starts, ERA of 3.06, whip of 1.07. He's doing this on a 1-year reported $5.5 million contract in what is technically his rookie season, and off having spent the previous 3 seasons pitching in Japan. Even with what happened on Friday night, the Nats signing of Foster Griffin clearly has been a home run. The 8-3 loss at the Braves on Saturday night. Miles Mikolas allowed 4 runs in 6 innings. He gave up 9 hits, which were 3 home runs, 2 doubles, and 4 singles. He issued a walk. He recorded 3 strikeouts. He threw 94 pitches, 60 strikes versus 34 balls. This was your typical Miles Mikolas outing in this regular season, for which he now has the following stats: 23 games, including 10 starts, ERA of 5.67, whip of 1.35, 26 home runs allowed, tied for the second most home runs allowed in MLB. But the 4-2 loss at the Braves on Sunday afternoon, Cade Cavalli did do well. He allowed 3 runs, 2 earned in 6 innings. He gave up 6 hits, which were 2 home runs, a double, and 3 singles. He had 3 strikeouts versus 1 walk. He threw a good number of strikes, 90 pitches, 57 strikes, 33 balls. Cade Cavalli now in this regular season, 24 games, all starts, ERA of 3.52, whip of 1.29, and he has been especially good lately. Cavalli over his last 8 starts, ERA of 2.58, 51 strikeouts versus 9 walks. Just terrific. The Nats relief pitching over the final 3 games of the team getting swept in this 4-game series at the Braves was mixed. The 6-2 loss at the Braves on Friday night. The Nats used just one relief pitcher, who was Trevor Williams. He officially tossed 2 2/3 scoreless innings with 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk. Now, he and the Braves 4-run 6th did give up an RBI single, but he over 63 pitches through 42 strikes versus just 21 balls. Williams looked good. The 8-3 loss at the Braves on Saturday night. 2 Nats relievers combined to allow 4 runs, all of which were unearned in 2 innings. Riley Cornelio officially allowed 4 runs, all of which were unearned in 2/3 of an inning. But he and the Braves' 4-run 7th was charged with all 4 runs, but all of them were unearned due to a fielding error by shortstop C.J. Abrams. But Cornelio in the inning issued 3 walks, including a 2-out, bases-loaded 4-pitch walk of ex-Nat Dominic Smith for a 5-0 Braves lead. And Eddie Jean officially tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 2 strikeouts, but he and that Braves 4-run 7th issued a 2-out, bases-loaded, run-scoring wild pitch on his very first pitch for a 6-0 Braves lead, and then gave up a 2-out, 2-run double by Austin Riley to the left center field gap for an 8-0 Braves lead. Center fielder Jacob Young nearly made a spectacular diving backhanded catch, but the ball came out of his glove. And the 4-2 loss at the Braves on Sunday afternoon. 2 Nats relievers combined to allow 1 run unearned in 2 innings. Orlando Revolta allowed 1 run unearned in 1 inning. Revolta in the bottom of the 7th allowed an unearned run thanks to a throwing error that he committed as Revolta made an errant throw to second base as Mauricio Dubon stole second base. So Dubon advanced to third on the throwing error and ended up scoring, and Max Kranick tossed a perfect bottom of the 8th. Next up for the Nats is a 4-game series at the Philadelphia Phillies. The Nats have listed the following starting pitchers as probables for the series. Game 1 Monday evening at 6:40, starting pitcher to be announced. Though Blake Butera, during his pregame session with reporters on Sunday morning, did say that the Nats likely will go with a bullpen game for Monday evening. Game 2 Tuesday evening at 6:40, Zach Littell. Game 3 Wednesday evening at 6:40, Jake Irvin. Game 4 Thursday evening at 6:05, Foster Griffin. And of course, all of this is subject to change, depending on what the Nats do regarding the trade deadline. Life insurance. You and your family hopefully never need it, but not having it can make a tragic situation even worse. We have a family friend who lost her husband to cancer. Him not having life insurance made the ensuing years even more difficult. Well, Ethos makes getting life insurance fast and easy, 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. There's no medical exam. You'll just answer a few simple health questions. You can get up to $3 million in coverage. Some policies are as low as $30 a month. You'll get your lowest rate from Ethos' network of trusted carriers. And know this, Ethos has a rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars on Trustpilot with over 4,000 reviews. Take 10 minutes today to get covered with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Al Galdi. That's ethos.com/Al Galdi. Ethos.com/Al Galdi. Application times may vary. Rates may vary. Trustpilot rating as of June 1st, 2025.
Imagine buying your kid a toy only to find the batteries aren't included, or buying furniture but missing the tools to build it. Frustrating, right? Now imagine the exact same feeling, but you're paying way more. That is what buying business software usually feels like. Fragmented, disconnected, and incredibly expensive. Odoo completely changes that. Odoo is a complete, fully integrated business suite where all your apps actually talk to each other. We're talking automated lead routing for your sales team, seamless AI integration, and intuitive point-and-click website builder. It's everything your business needs to scale, saving you time, headaches, and money. Stop piecing your software together. Go to odoo.com. That's odoo.com to learn more.
A disappointing weekend in a disappointing season for the Baltimore Orioles. They, over the weekend, lost 2 out of 3 games against the Philadelphia Phillies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. Friday night, a 6-4 win over the Phillies in a game in which the O's overcame a 4-2 7th-inning deficit by scoring 4 runs in the bottom of the 7th. The win actually concluded the O's going 15-8 in the month of July 2026. But Saturday night, a 5-0 loss to the Phillies, and Sunday, an 8-0 rain-shortened 6-inning loss to the Phillies. The game featured 1 hour and 54 minutes of actual playing time versus 2 hours and 17 minutes of rain delay time over 2 rain delays. So back-to-back shutout losses for the O's off the great come-from-behind win on Friday night. The O's in MLB's 2026 regular season now are 54-58 with a run differential of -35 and now are 2.5 games behind the Cleveland Guardians for the American League's 3rd of 3 wildcard spots. It is an odd deal with the O's. They're having this disappointing season, and yet they are in postseason contention. I mean, 2.5 games out of a playoff spot is being in postseason contention. And so what is Orioles president of baseball operations and general manager Mike Elias going to do regarding the 2026 MLB trade deadline, which is on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern? Will the O's be buyers or sellers? The O's in the lead up to this deadline already have made 2 trades. So one was a buy-side trade. One was a sell-side trade. The O's this past Thursday evening announced having traded minor league pitcher Zane Barnhart to the Detroit Tigers for catcher Jake Rogers in what was a buy-side trade for the O's, although not a major buy. The O's on Friday afternoon announced having activated Rogers and having designated catcher Chadwick Tromp for assignment. And in a much more notable trade, the O's late night on Friday night announced having traded starting pitcher Dean Kramer to the Minnesota Twins for outfield prospect Jonardo Reyes. And this, of course, was a sell-side trade for the O's. So Reyes, at the time of the trade, was the Twins' number 24 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. He, via the trade, became the Orioles' number 20 overall prospect per MLB Pipeline. But what most stands out, of course, is that Dean Kramer is gone. He's in his age 30 season and is under team control through the 2027 season, so trading him was understandable. The O's acquired Kramer from the Los Angeles Dodgers in the trade package for third baseman / shortstop Manny Machado in July 2018. Kramer for the O's did do some good things, but here's the bottom line. He for the O's in 707 and 2/3 innings over 7 regular seasons, 2020 through 2026, accumulated just 6.1 wins above replacement per Baseball Reference and registered an ERA plus of just 93. ERA plus is ERA that's adjusted for a player's league and home ballpark. 100 is average, above 100 is good, below 100 is bad. So he for the O's was a below league average pitcher. Ate up some innings, but he ultimately was a below league average pitcher. As for who could be next to go, so the O's on Friday evening did announce that relief pitcher Yennier Cano had agreed on a 2-year contract extension for the 2027 and 2028 seasons with a club option for the 2029 season. So that seemingly removed him as a trade candidate, but so many other players on the O's are trade candidates, including catcher Adley Rutschman. The once unthinkable now is very much in play. The O's potentially trading Adley Rutschman. MLB insider Mark Feinsand of MLB.com, he on Saturday afternoon in a post on X, quote, "The Orioles have discussed Adley Rutschman with multiple teams," sources said, as Baltimore examines all options ahead of Monday's trade deadline, end quote. Other Orioles trade candidates include outfielders Taylor Ward and Colton Cowser, second baseman / third baseman / shortstop Jackson Holliday, starting pitcher Trevor Rogers, relief pitchers Rico Garcia and Andrew Kittredge. All of these guys have come up as trade candidates to varying degrees. It was never supposed to be the case that the win now O's would be sellers regarding the 2026 MLB trade deadline, but the team is having this second consecutive disappointing season and is having a third consecutive season in which the team is being hit hard by injury. I mean, did you hear or see what happened with first baseman Ryan Mountcastle? This is something. So Ryan Mountcastle has been on the 60-day injured list since April 13th due to a left foot fracture. Mike Elias, during a session with reporters this past Friday afternoon, revealed that Mountcastle suffered an injured oblique right before beginning his minor league rehab assignment and potentially is done for the season. This is the kind of horrendous injury luck that the O's are having. The Orioles offense in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Phillies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend was good in Game 1, but really bad in Games 2 and 3. I mean, back-to-back shutout losses. Not good. The 6-4 win over the Phillies on Friday night. The O's 6 runs, 6 hits, which were a home run, a triple, 2 doubles, and 2 singles, 6 walks, 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. The O's in this game had some big hits. Pete Alonso as the Orioles starting first baseman and number 2 batter went 2 for 3 with a 2-run homer, a single, and a hit by pitch. Gunnar Henderson as the Orioles starting shortstop and number 3 batter went 1 for 4 with a 2-run triple. Henderson in the Orioles 4-1 7th had a 2-out 2-run triple to the right center field gap for a 6-4 Orioles lead. Christian Encarnacion Strand, he in the Orioles 4-1 7th had a pinch, 1-out 2-run double to the left center field gap to tie the game at 4 despite having been down in the count at 1.12. The 5-0 loss to the Phillies on Saturday night. The O's were terrible offensively. No runs, just 3 hits, all of which were singles, 0 for 3 with runners in scoring position, 14 strikeouts. So the O's did draw 5 walks, but the O's mostly got work by Philly starting pitcher Christopher Sanchez, who tossed 6 scoreless innings with 11 strikeouts. So though he did issue 5 walks, but Christopher Sanchez is having some season. He, for this regular season, as of games through Saturday, was number 1 among all MLB pitchers in wins above replacement per Baseball Reference, 5.9. And the 8-0 rain-shortened 6-inning loss to the Phillies on Sunday, the O's were terrible offensively. No runs, just 4 hits, all of which were singles, just 1 walk, 0 for 2 with runners in scoring position. So the O's, over the final 2 games of this series, no runs, no extra base hits. The Orioles starting pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Phillies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend was bad in games 1 and 3, but good in game 2. The 6-4 win over the Phillies on Friday night. Brandon Young did struggle. He allowed 4 runs in 5 2/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, which were 2 home runs and 3 singles, issued 2 walks, did record 5 strikeouts, 94 pitches, 59 strikes, 35 balls. Still, Brandon Young in this regular season at the major league level, 18 games, all starts, ERA of 3.31, whip of 1.29. The 5-0 loss to the Phillies on Saturday night. Shane Baz did well. He allowed 1 run in 6 and a third innings, gave up 6 hits, which were a double and 5 singles, 4 strikeouts versus 1 walk, threw a lot of strikes, 99 pitches, 68 strikes, just 31 balls. Shane Baz for this regular season now 22 games, all starts, ERA of 3.86, whip of 1.37. And the 8-0 rain-shortened 6-inning loss to the Phillies on Sunday. Kyle Bradish allowed 2 runs in 3 innings. Didn't pitch well, but that game was a mess. I don't think it's worth putting too much analysis into what Bradish did in this game. The Orioles relief pitching in the team losing 2 out of 3 games against the Phillies at Oriole Park at Camden Yards over the weekend was good in Game 1, but really bad in Games 2 and 3. The 6-4 win over the Phillies on Friday night. 4 Orioles relievers combined for 3 and a third scoreless innings. Josh Walker tossed 2/3 of a scoreless inning. Anthony Nunez tossed 2/3 of a scoreless and hitless inning. Yadier Cano tossed a perfect top of the 8th, and Tyler Wells tossed a perfect top of the 9th for the save. But the 5-0 loss to the Phillies on Saturday night, 4 Orioles relievers combined to allow 4 runs in 2 2/3 innings. Rico Garcia did retire each of the 2 batters he faced, but Grant Wolfram officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning. He would ended up being a 4-run 8th for the Phillies. Faced 3 batters, but got just 1 out as he issued back-to-back 1-out walks. Andrew Kittredge officially allowed 2 runs in a third of an inning. He and that Phillies 4-run 8th gave up a 2-run single and 2 RBI singles and issued a walk and a wild pitch. Kittredge was a mess. Yaramil Geraldo did look good. He tossed 1 1/3 scoreless innings with 3 swinging strikeouts as he is back. The O's on Saturday afternoon announced having recalled Geraldo from AAA Norfolk. And the 8-0 rain-shortened 6-inning loss to the Phillies on Sunday. 3 Orioles relievers, Anthony Nunez, Josh Walker, and Albert Suarez combined to allow 6 runs in 3 innings. No game for the O's on Monday. Next up for them is a 3-game series against the Los Angeles Angels at Oriole Park at Camden Yards. The O's have not announced any probable starting pitchers for the series. Understandable given the trade deadline. Game 1 Tuesday evening at 6:35. Game 2 Wednesday evening at 6:35. Game 3 Thursday afternoon at 12:35. And that'll do it for you and me for now, but there's more to come. Tuesday's show, episode 1380. We'll have plenty for you on the Washington Commanders as they on Monday morning have their first padded practice of 2026 training camp. Also on Tuesday's show, we'll talk Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles. Reaction to what the Nats and O's do and do not do regarding the 2026 MLB Trade Deadline, which is on Monday at 6 p.m. Eastern. And the Nats have a game on Monday evening. The Nats are at the Philadelphia Phillies Monday evening at 6:40 for Game 1 of a 4-game series. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you on Tuesday.
In that space.